Welcome to Early Care Connection. I'm Izzy Greenberg. Today we have our resident panel of experts, Meryl Gay from the Connecticut Early Childhood Alliance and Ava Bermuda Zimmerman from Child Care for CT. Sandra is away this week and Ava is helping us with interpretation. So thank you so much, Ava, for doing that. And Sandra should be back next week. A reminder to everyone to use the chat for any technical issues you have or to communicate with the community, but to use the Q&A for questions for the panelists. All right, and we've got a number of topics to cover this morning, so we'll get right into it. Actually, I first want to start and just let everyone know that Commissioner Bai's wife, Tracy, passed yesterday. And so I wanted to just have this group who has shown so much love and support for her and her family just take one moment to offer a moment of silence or prayer or whatever feels most meaningful to you before we get started. Okay, thank you, everyone. And I'm sorry if I am the person who is informing you of that. It's never good to hear bad news, but of course, we send our best, our love to Commissioner Bai and her family. It is weird to now just jump right into the rest of this, but that is what we have to do. Everybody has to put one foot in front of the other. So here we go. We are going to jump right in. First, we're going to have the program, by Alyssa Magnano and Janelli Betances, who are here from the Community Health Center Association of Connecticut. They are going to be talking about the covered CT program. And then after that, we will have Kathleen Callahan, who is the Policy and Civic Engagement Director for the Connecticut Cradle to Career Coalition, who will be presenting on civic engagement, the Connecticut General Assembly, and policy and advocacy. So first, we are going to start with Alyssa and Janelli. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm not seeing your video on. All right, there you go. All right, let's try it. We were having an audio difficulty before, so let's see if it's any better. Yeah, there's still an issue.
It's really bad. Can we try doing with the phone or something, some other way to connect you?
Yep, it sounds really bad. Sure. So yeah, if you join the Zoom from your phone also, you can use the phone as your speaker. And then just your video will still be your video, and you can share screen from there if that's useful, if you can do that. And I am going to, in the meanwhile, while we get that figured out, I'm going to share their presentation with you all. First, I'm going to share it in English and I'm going to share it in Spanish, both in the chat. And we will, I don't know, Janelli, we got you on camera, but I'm not seeing either of you on speaker on the audio. We'll just give it one quick second for them to sort out their audio. And so sorry, we've been trying to work this out for, that's why we started 1 minute late. We were trying to work this out and thought we had it fixed. And thank you to everyone for the beautiful words in the chat. And we will forward that along. Janelli, is it from your phone that you're trying to connect? Because it's only, hold on 1 second. Let's see. I think I need can you chat me your phone number and I'll let that in as a panelist? I think that's probably the issue now. Put it in the private chat. Sorry, everyone. We'll get this worked out quickly. And in the meantime, let me share share these with you all. Okay, so there's the English presentation, and I will share the Spanish one in just a second after I. Okay. All right, you should be all set now. If you unmute yourself, you should be all set.
Good morning.
Good morning, we got it. Perfect. All right, it's all yours. The floor is yours. You want to just tell us about it? Well, maybe where you get the. I can also share my screen for you if that's more helpful. Now we're not hearing you at all. Okay, let's see. We may have to try this on a different day if we can't work it out. Hold on. We'll try one more time. Make sure. Okay, go ahead. It should work now. You can talk again.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now and really hope for the best here. We gotta love technology. I don't think we learned after 2020, apparently. Yeah. And it's okay. Okay. We're still learning. How are we doing? Can you hear us?
We hear you. Yep. You just have to do your just to the
And
presentation.
can you guys, beautiful. You guys can see the presentation for the Cover
Lovely.
CT program?
We don't see your presentation. No, we just see your full screen.
Right. Let me give it a minute to load.
Okay, would you like me to share my screen for you?
Yeah, can
Sure.
you just, yeah.
And that way you can focus just on telling us what's going on.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. All right, you can go
Guys,
ahead and
we're
give
doing
introduction
fantastic.
while I get this set up.
Yeah. So my name is Janelle Patansis, and I'm Melissa Magnano. We're from the Community Health Center Associations of Connecticut, and we are community health workers, specifically CACs, who go around all the centers in Connecticut to provide insurance enrollment, specifically Cover CT, as well as other insurances from Access Health CT, which provides Husky, a quality health plan, or a Cover CT insurance. So we can just provide as much insurance coverage for the state of Connecticut for the needed community. And beautiful, our slides is up and we can see it. So you can definitely go to the next slide. Just a little note. So when we say Community Health Center Associates of Connecticut, you guys might hear federally qualified health centers, which is FQHCs, or they might be called community health centers or just health centers. They all mean the same thing. They're all the same place. These are just different forms of ways to say it.
And also that is what we serve. So we, there are other health centers in the state, but we serve the federally qualified health centers. So, yes, we can please go to the next slide. And just some past and present history about the health centers. It was part of the civil rights movement, the war on poverty in the 1960s. And today, over 1,400 health centers, organizations, they cater to about 31.5 million people across the country. So that is a huge array of people. And also, they provide care to people regardless of insurance, immigration status, ability to pay. I know a lot of centers really work with their patients. So they do offer a wide variety of services and provide a lot of help to different people. Next slide, please.
Beautiful. So just a little bit about the health centers. I know Alyssa touched based on a little bit. They do provide a lot of services. And our goal is for just to advocate for health and just make sure we provide as much as we can under one roof. As you can see, there's some examples: primary care, behavioral health, women's health, pediatric dentist, insurance enrollment. All of these services are provided under one place. So it's kind of the one-stop shop in a way, especially for our community, so they're not traveling somewhere for dental, somewhere for primary care. We try to make it as easy and convenient for our patients. Next slide.
And as you can see here, our organization serves the 17 health centers. Obviously, they have other branches, but these are the main locations over the state. And with that being said, they do training and technical assistance. They do advocacy and a lot with public policy. And they do also have, excuse me, if I can scroll down, I can't see that. But yeah, so that's the gist of what the health centers do other than serve the communities. You can go to the next, yeah.
So specific, that was just a little bit about just the health centers in general. And now we're going to talk more about the Cover CT program, which we currently do. So we do the enrollments through Access Health CT. And the beauty thing about the Cover CT program, it's all year round. So our community can enroll any time of the year, like Husky. So it's very similar to Husky, but the requirements are just slightly different. So these are just some of the eligibility requirements that Cover CT has. You have to be a Connecticut residency, fall under the income household. When they're not eligible for Medicaid, this is kind of a little bit of a step up. It's one of those, mainly for those folks who, you know, make a little bit more money than Medicaid, but still not enough, you know, for private insurance. So we have the Cover C2 program, which provides that like amount income for those people who just make slightly little bit more than the Husky, which is great. So we can serve those community, as well as the difference between the Husky, you have to have 5 years being a resident of Connecticut or a resident of the United States, having that green card. The Cover CP is fantastic because you do not need 5 years with your residency card. The only thing, the requirements, one of the main requirements is the income. You do have to have some form of income to be eligible for the Cover CP, as well as these other requirements, but I would say that's one of the main ones. So we can have folks who currently not working but have a residency card for 2 years. They won't be eligible for the Cover CT compared to if they did have some sort of income, and so meeting the requirements, which we'll show you on the next slide, they'll be eligible for the Cover CT program. And you can actually go to the next slide. So as you can see, these are the income limits. So for depending on the household size, so obviously if you have one person and you have to have some sort of income, they cannot make more than $26,355 for the year. Yes, it's not ideal. Like a lot, you know, if they work a full-time job, minimum wage, yes, it might not cover. However, if they do work a part-time and they have a family with kids, and they're not, you know, a residency of Connecticut for more than 5 years, this is a great program for them, because I know they won't be eligible for Husky. So this is just another option for them to be able to have a no-cost insurance. So this is no cost, and it also provides dental and transportation to the medical service or appointments. So it does have this great benefits of that for those who make a little bit more than the Husky line, which is about 20 grand and some change for one person. So this is just a great option for the community. You can go to the next slide.
And to apply for this coverage, again, we are CAC, so a lot of the patients do come to us and we directly help them with this process, but they are able to enroll in this all year round. They can visit accesshealthct.com, apply online if they so choose, but they can also call the line, which is that 855 number there. They can go to a community health center. A lot of times there will be
Other CACs.
Yes, other CACs, but there's also many staff members who wear multiple hats, so they can, you know, help them. Maybe they're helping them with behavioral health, and then they can also help them enroll in insurance, whatever the case may be. There are tons of options for that. And I know many community health workers do have this certification as well. So I don't know if we've mentioned, but a CAC is a certified application counselor. So we are just able to basically go through that application with them and get them enrolled. So tons of options, tons of ways to get enrolled. There's a lot of information online. Yeah, so
Yeah, we can do it over the phone, virtually, in person. We have the ability to travel around the state.
We can meet them at a library if they so choose, at a local, coffee shop. We kind of meet them wherever they need, and
Yeah.
And you can hit the next slide. Yeah, so
Just our
just to end off here, sorry for the technical difficulties today, but that is a little rundown of the Covered CT program here in Connecticut. If you have any questions, you may feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah, we also have a language line as well, because I know a lot of the community speak different languages. I know it's very high in the Portuguese and Haitian and Creole and Spanish. We do have a language line that's fantastic, that works very quickly, and we're able to serve. So we're trying to overcome all the barriers that community may have when like I said, we meet them where it's easy access for them. So the transportation and the language barriers, anything, we try to make it comfortable for them and just know like, hey, we're here to help and assist with their needs. So, but that's really the gist.
That is the gist of it. So thank you all for listening, and again, apologies for the technical difficulties.
We should be experts. Clearly we're not. Does anybody have any questions?
The one person is asking if you could please share your contact information in the chat.
Absolutely.
And folks, the presentation here is also in the chat, and I'll reshare it again. And so if you want any of that information, you can download the chat in either English or Spanish, and you can get all of that information as well. So yeah.
Yeah, and if you guys have any questions along the way and you're just thinking like, oh, this might be, this might work for so-and-so or this family member, don't be afraid or hesitate to reach out to us, email us like, hey, we just wanted to check an eligibility question, or even call us. We are more than happy to help. We have a team of 5 with the Community Health Associations of Connecticut, so it's really nice that we have a bigger team, so we're able to assist and help the community more. And I'm also Spanish. I do speak Spanish, so I'm able to, if you have a Spanish client, I can help them directly as well.
Let's see. Can you do it with a tax ID? Is what puede inscríbase una persona con taxi ID. So I'm guessing that's tax ID. But yeah.
Yeah. So they still need documentation. They would need a social security, and they have to have a residency card or to be here in the United States. Yeah, tax ID wouldn't be applicable, unfortunately. They have to have a social and the residency card to be eligible for the Cover CT.
Great. All right. Thank you so much, Janelle and Alyssa. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Kathleen, we are moving on to the next part of our presentation here. Let's see, I am still seeing a spotlight on the wrong thing. Are you guys seeing me spotlighted? Yeah, no, you're not. Okay, hold on, let's fix that. There we go. Okay. All right, so moving on to the next part of our presentation, we're going to have Kathleen Callahan, the Policy and Civic Engagement Director of the Connecticut Cradle to Career Coalition, presenting on civic engagement, the Connecticut General Assembly, policy and advocacy. Kathleen, take it away.
Thank you very much, and it's great to be here with all of you. Just real briefly, as a social worker, I have been involved with trauma-informed system and organizational change and sustainability, and I have collaborated with statewide partners, including all the Cradle to Career organizations, to increase awareness about childhood adversity. Part of that work was expanding it from the individual view within the household to include community and environmental impact of adversity, and therefore adding prevention and intervention solutions that require policy change and legislative action. So that is part of why I am here now working with all 5 of the organizations.
Thank you.
So today, we're going to talk a little bit about transferring power to the communities. Our 5, excuse me, I've been not feeling well. Our 5 place-based collective impact partnership believe in the transfer of power to the community through engagement, civic engagement and education. And this legislative cycle, we formed our first policy and advocacy subcommittee with parents, community members, students, and workers within direct care providers within our partnerships. All 5 of them had representation, and they drove the policy legislative agenda. I personally believe that the numbers and stories together tell very compelling stories. And while training the community, for me, it's training in the community, it's more about than just spreading awareness, and it's about combating the fatigue that when you've been ignored and left out of the room, let alone at the table, it's hard to gain trust. So over the past few years, as the fiscal controls helped the state catch up on pension obligations to our state workers and teachers, I've noticed a growing use of the scarcity mindset from the use of that word from unexpected places. And I'm sure in your work, you're used to it, hearing, find a way to get by with less, work together, bring up a bill that offers a solution to multiple problems. So I just want to start off today first with this quote. I had the privilege of hearing Dr. Manuel Pastor speak in person, and he talks about what determines the social determinants, and it's power and policy. And I believe it's our individual power and then collecting that together. And it's important for us to celebrate our movements, not just beating the odds. Like, what are we doing? And let's work together to change the odds. So kids, I'm sure most of you know about the Kids Count. They do a data profile for all the different states. And I wanted to share the ones from the past year, 2024. I'm just going to go through them quickly, and I'll go back. You'll get these slides as well, but these are about economic well-being, education, health, and family and community. So they're all here, the 4 of them, and then I'm going to just go by and see how Connecticut, United States is in gray, and Connecticut's on the far right. And our numbers, as you can see, some are getting better as they go down, and ones that should be going down, and things that are getting worse. And the importance of looking at these, where they're getting worse, you can see our education, ages 3 to 4, not in school. Then 4th graders not reading, 8th graders not proficient in math. Low birth weights. And then family and community. Single parent families. Household lacks a diploma. So when we're not, to me, I look at this and we are not in the beginning taking care of the prevention aspects. And the time I've been in this field, it's been the crisis, managed a crisis when it happens. And I've seen the shift starting to move toward prevention and early interventions. And that's the work that you all do. And what we've seen recently is a slow shift toward looking at what's starting to happen in the early child grades, in the later, and then high school. And as the state's trying to fill jobs, they're seeing that they don't have people to fill them. So we're hopeful that they're going to start realizing that prevention and intervention is very important. So I just want to, if anybody wants to unmute and think about what those slides mean and what does power in general mean to you as you work in the community, as providers, as educators in your community. What do you think personally, and for the people that you work with, what does power mean to you? How do you see that?
Kathleen, maybe we'll invite people to do it in the chat because you can't unmute within the webinar format.
Sounds great. Thank you, Izzy. If you
Yeah.
could add that to the chat and we will continue on.
Thank you, perfect.
Yes, thank you. Moving on to civic engagement and advocacy during partisan division, which is very important now. So the health of a democratic society must be measured by the qualities and functions performed by private citizens. And that was a quote from back in the middle of the 19th century, in the 1800s, by a Frenchman living here, his book, Democracy in Action, Alexis de Tocqueville. And this was over 200 years ago, I believe. His observations spoke to civic engagement. And it said, civic engagement strengthens the foundations of political systems. It promotes active participation and belonging to citizens. And it provides accountability, ownership, and trust to all stakeholders. And that is very important now while we are in the middle of partisan politics. So civic engagement definitions from the Encyclopedia Britannica, you can read them up here, and also from Civic Responsibility in Higher Education. The key things that I found in these definitions, civic engagement increases the health and promotes the quality of life. So some examples of the values, some values of civic engagement. Trusting and respecting how a community wants to take action for itself, which is opposite of forcing an agenda or an opinion on a community. Creating agency and power in people, particularly those most affected in a community or by an issue. Again, going back to that power, empowering people. It's different than silencing them. Nurturing, fostering healthier, stronger, happier places, the well-being again, that's from the definition. That's different than undermining or eroding a community's trust. Engaging community members in a process instead of forcing a political agenda, and then promoting transparency and participation instead of corruption or exclusivity. And here are some examples. Today we're talking about advocacy and public policy, service, voting, civic learning. This is something that is talked about a lot now. Our Secretary of the State has actually tried to revive civic learning in our schools and also within our nonprofit organizations. Civic infrastructure, I have a slide coming up on that, and political participation. And that also includes with nonprofit organizations, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So, civic engagement is not partisan politics. Yet there is a toxic partisan divide today. And there is also a nonpartisan sense of distrust and skepticism that separates those who hold power and those who do not. And that is not partisan. I see it in my town hall. I think everybody sees it who's involved. It's not about what party or no party that you're involved with. It's about power. And it's frustrating for everyone. It's frustrating for the policymakers that are trying to do their best as well. So as far as the tax code goes, we are prohibited, nonprofits are prohibited from directly or indirectly participating in a political campaign. That does not mean we are not apolitical. So nonprofits can advocate for changes that support our communities, hold elected officials accountable, create connections, and uplift voices, because we know that people closest to the problems tend to advocate for solutions that benefit the majority of those impacted. So I love this drawing. This is civic infrastructure, and you can see in the picture the school where you can have youth civic education and registration initiatives. Up in the right, there is broadband initiatives, the school library. There is labor union demonstrations, City Hall, where there are public deliberations. There's a lot of different things that happen here, and we also know some of these things are under threat right now. There's also locations at the park. There could be community gardens, the free press, the cafe. So all of this is the civic infrastructure, and together with civic participation and civic infrastructure, those two together are the civic health of your community. And this is the cornerstone of our democracy, together with voting. So what is advocacy? It's the act of supporting or speaking up for a cause to influence decisions by elected officials. It also is raising awareness about important issues and raising awareness to friends, neighbors, or those elected officials. And that the goal is to bring about change. So it can be in writing letters or emails to elected officials, attending the public meetings, aligning with other people doing the work, or actually this would be considered possibly lobbying, participating in campaigns to educate others and influence decisions. Policy is a result of the set of rules made by government or organizations to address the issues. So they are the laws, regulations, or guidelines. So the advocacy that we take part in leads to the policy change when we all get together and ask for those change. So policy defines what gets done, but advocacy is the process that we can shape and influence to reflect what we need, what we want, what we believe. So it is, you cannot underestimate what kind of impact you can have on all that they are voting on, they are deliberating at every level, local level, up in Hartford, and at the federal government. So when you are advocating, simple, straight forward, yourself, what matters. It is personal stories goes with proof, a mix of all of that. There are people that are going to have straight up facts, and then legislators are always saying the most important thing is the personal stories, what you experienced. Whenever you're working with a group, like everybody here at this meeting, early care team here, they will provide information, or the coalition, our Cradle to Career Coalition. We will provide templates with any information that is what they expect up in Hartford, and any kind of talking points that you would like as well. This is very important. If you don't know and you are questioned by a legislator, just say you don't know. And also very important, you can read from paper. Very few people can just go off the cuff and speak for the maximum time is 3 minutes. It's fine not to do that, no matter what the internet says, and you can do it virtually or in person. I just wanted to show a quick example of a provider. Izzy, how am I on time?
You're doing fine, thank you.
Okay. So this is a childcare provider at a recent Committee on Children public hearing.
Good evening, everybody. Senator Maher, Representative Perez, and distinguished members of the Children's Committee. My name is Dora Ramos, and I operate Nova Academy in Stamford, Connecticut. I am a family childcare educator with an early childhood education degree, social work, and nutrition. And I have been serving children in my community for over 8 years. I'm here today to ask that you support HB 6839, an act increasing the number of children permitted in family care homes. I believe this act will benefit tremendously to the future citizens of this country. Talking about the children will benefit from enhancing their social and emotional skills. The children will perform better in life, enhance their independence, their critical thinking, their self-confidence, their creativity and cognitive skills. It will also benefit the families by being able to go to work and improve their mental health and reduce isolation. It will benefit the community in different ways. This will include increased financial stability, a sense of belonging, and access to more opportunities. In my experience, I have applied for a group daycare. I literally spent $14,000 paying for different types of studies since I live. I will say fortunately and unfortunately. Fortunately, I live in a residential area where we have to go through a big, very tough process to try to open a group daycare. So I have the space, I have the employees, but unfortunately, there's a lot of things that go with it. And I had to hire an architect, which recommended a traffic study, survey study, and so many studies that go along with it, so they can give me the right to approve the group. Before, there was a say of the neighbors had the main say of yes or no. Finally, the bill passed where we can go ahead and do it without that, depending on zoning. But I tried to do it by myself, but unfortunately,
Please summarize.
there's so many codes that I couldn't do it. So I'm stuck with it, and for that sense, I hope you will support HB 6839. Thank you, Dora Ramos, Nova Academy in Stamford, Connecticut.
Thank you so much for that feedback. What would have helped you in your process to be successful? Or what else could we change?
In my experience, to be successful, I think it will be nicer if there's like a coach or somebody that tells you exactly, directly. I will not mind brutally telling me exactly, yes, no, this is gonna cost this much, do it or don't do it. It's been very, very hard to see literally throwing all those savings and try to do something for the benefit of so many families that have reached me. But unfortunately, I trust my God, trust the architect and all the words, and go through the whole application, go through everything step by step, and nothing got to the end. So right now we have a septic water sewer, and we're trying to, finally people has asked that the sewer aligns with the city of Stamford. So now it's happening, but that's gonna take like maybe 2 years. So now we have to wait. I pay already the architect so he can continue, because there's no way I can go to the city of Stamford and do the paperwork by myself. So it's very, very, very hard. So I have to find somebody else to do it. But I have the space for 19 children. But since I live in the home, I only want the group. But since I cannot have the group yet, maybe in 2-3 years, this enlargement of or pilot program will benefit everybody.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I know that the Office of Early Childhood does offer some technical supports for providers, but I've also heard that this is something that would be very helpful to be expanded. And so to hear it directly from you.
So I wanted to show that example because there was the testimony and then a back and forth, and it continues a little bit, but I wanted to show how the legislature will listen, there is engagement, and, you know, thank you, I will take that under consideration. I want to hear that there is these troubles with, you know, you're asking for support of the bill, but you're also asking for additional help or changes, and that is part of the advocacy as well. So that is why I wanted to show that example. We're going to briefly go over government. There's 3 structures: federal, state, local. The executive, right here across, carries out the laws. The legislative makes the laws, and the judicial interprets the laws. They're elected, and then appointed or hired are the administrative, and they implement or manage the laws. And then there are the 3 branches. I'm sorry, that was the 3 branches. And then there are the 3 levels, which is federal, state, and municipal. So this right here, of course, depending on where you live, this is named differently, and you may have a board of reps, and you may have taxation or something else here, board of finance. So what happens at the state level impacts us, and what happens at the state level is impacted by what happens at the federal level, which is incredibly important this year. But in fiscal year 2021, which we have the data for, 353 assistance programs relied on census data to distribute 2.8 trillion dollars to communities across the country. That was 4 years ago. So, and we'll get to that quickly. 4-year election cycles. Just so everyone knows, we were here, and we have a special election in two races right now going on. They'll be there tomorrow. But we just had a presidential election, so that is every even year. That is evenly divisible by 4. 2025 municipal, it could be a mayoral select person or not, depending on where you live. Then the ones that are not evenly divisible by 4, gubernatorial, another municipal, and this is the cycle every year. Our General Assembly, that is our home, the Capitol and the Legislative Office Building. This is where the chambers are, and many of the offices of the highest people, the governor, lieutenant governor, and the leaders of both chambers. And these are where the public hearings are basically held. Again, our home. We belong in that building, and they are connected by a underground walkway. I believe it's under entryway to 84, I-84. I will just breeze through this. These are our districts. They were redistricted every 10 years after the census is done. It's very important that we count everybody, because we lost a congressional seat in 2000, which has cost us funding. So then we do our state after the US government does its census. We do our state, and we redistrict every 10 years, and then you redistrict at the local level. So here's our Senate district. Sorry, is that our Senate? Yes, those are our Senate districts. And here are House districts. So there's 136 Senate, 151 House districts. 26, I believe there's 27 now, and I may be wrong with this, special education has been added. So these are all the different committees up in Hartford. They are joint committees. That means that their membership includes both House and Senate members, which is kind of unique to Connecticut. Before bills are considered in either the House or the Senate, they must first go through the committee session, the committee process. So 36 senators and 151 representatives, that's 187 General Assembly. They are elected to serve every 2 years. Senators it doesn't happen what happens in DC. They're up for re-election, the same as the House, every 2 years. And it is a biennium budget. it's a biennium term. So who got elected last year? This is in the even year. You go into your term in the odd year, and it's a long session. We are in a long session right now in the odd years, and it goes from January to June. The short session is February to May, a shorter one. So in this long session, the budget is created for the next 2 years. And during that, individual legislators can introduce their own bills. That is when you can ask your legislator to do something. You will see bills that are put up that are based on constituent desires. And this is the workhorse session. That is when a lot of stuff gets done, and we'll go through that process very quickly again if we have time. And then the short session is the even year after, and that is when budget adjustments are done and individual legislators cannot raise bills. Last year was a very strange one as the budget did not get adjusted at all.
Kathleen, we are on the time check. So there's a bunch of these next grouping of slides, I think are, I don't want to say self-explanatory, but everyone, I've shared the slideshow with everyone in the chat.
Yes.
So maybe you can skip ahead to things that need a little bit more explanation because we've got about 5 more minutes.
I will do that. Okay, so this is different times to be able to advocate. And just when you can speak, one second, that's interesting. Okay, when you can speak and advocate, we are right now in this section. So this is the time where you can send out, you'll be getting alerts from everybody about when you can send in testimony, and then soon things will be sent to the chamber. I don't know what happened here, but the governor's release of his budget was on February 5th. Appropriations hearings, they will hear from the administrative departments justifying, supporting the governor's release. Those are ongoing through this week. Currently also ongoing are the committees. All those 26, 27 committees are hearing, there's thousands of bills from in the House and the Senate, it originated there, going on in all those committees. Some of them, many of them, most of them have a fiscal cost, and they will eventually go to appropriations as well. So the appropriations is hearing the governors. They will eventually hear this General Assembly's bills that have, and then the General Assembly will release their budget the end of April. There will be negotiations throughout May, and before the end of the session, there will be a compromise on the budget. There's a lot that goes on here. So far, oh, I don't know why this is done this way. Sorry, all. This is the governor's budget, federal uncertainty. We have no idea what's going to happen at the federal level. Currently, the state of Connecticut receives about $6 billion for its $10.1 billion for Medicaid. And last year, we did not open our budget. As I just said, the budget was not adjusted at all. So there is money being set aside to cover what was owed from last year for Medicaid. And the state covers about 4 of the 10, 4.1 billion for Medicaid. So some of that money in our budget is going to go, and we don't know if we're going to get the $6 billion from the federal government. We hope we do. We're assuming we will. We don't know. Also from the federal government is 1.4 billion for transportation construction. Money comes in for our big cities, and also money comes in that fills up our rainy day fund. So, and that is used to help municipalities. So all of this is unknown. In the governor's budget, he highlighted universal preschool and the preschool endowment, Medicaid provider rates, and special education. I want to just, I don't think I have anything else on that, and the opioid settlement. So real briefly on this. The Medicaid rates, the governor wants to boost the Medicaid rates for caregivers. He wants to increase transit fares, invest in special education, and preserved increases in town aid. He will also, the budget wants to put 300 million outside, which we know, outside of the budget for the universal preschool and the endowment. And that is that's outside the spending cap, which is called a controversial maneuver. So it's outside the safe to spend, and it frees up more resources to strengthen programs and safeguard us in case that we get reduced aid from the federal government. This 300 million will be used to fund, as I said, and to fund the universal preschool. Special education is going to get less than they need. So there was a special education select committee on special education created this year. They will get less than they need. And the nonprofits are getting less than they need in this budget. They provide our food assistance, shelters, therapeutic services, aid for people with disabilities. They'll get more next year in the budget, but not this year. So one thing that came out from OPM, which is the Office of Policy Management, said that the town should have planned more for their ARP funding. It should have been used on one-time spending, and that the higher ed who are getting cuts should have they have money in their own savings that they could use. So there's a battle going on. Again, as I started with, the scarcity mindset, where unfortunately people that are on the same side of issues are being asked to work together and come up with one solution to come together for one single ask. So I know the people in this room may have more information on the specific universal preschool and the endowment fund, but Medicaid provider rates will be addressed, not as much as they need. Special education will get some money, and the opioid settlement, that money is being used, and the activists that fought for this aren't fully happy, is an understatement, to work on some of those nonprofit social services that, from an overview, do touch people that have addiction, are in recovery, or are in active addiction. It's helping them, but it's not what the settlement was done. And that was supposed to be aside, kind of like the tobacco settlement money was used for other things than it was supposed to be used for.
Kathleen,
So
2-minute warning.
2-minute warning.
Yep.
Early care bills. These are the bills that our coalition are following and their status right now. So many of them are moving. School meals, it's been referred back, so it's been drafted. This is moved to appropriation, so I'm not going to go through them, but if you see any kind of change in this right here, these bills have been moved over to appropriation. So as I said before, the legislators are working on them. This has been moved to appropriations. Universal basic income that they saw hasn't moved at all. It's had a public hearing. Pay equity has been moved to education. So the pay equity bill had a public hearing and has been moved over to education. This is sitting with getting the draft, the language for the screening tools and the child development data sharing. This has been referred to public health. This pilot program has been moved to public health. So I know those are bills that you've been interested in. And then these bills just were heard last week. This one, the behavioral health services, was last week. Coming up, sugar sweetened beverages. That is a tax that is going to the finance committee, that they're looking to use that tax to pay for these school meals. And while it is a regressive tax, it will be enough taxes collected to be reinvested, and they're working very hard to get the data for Wednesday's hearing to show that it can be reinvested and brought back to the communities hardest hit by that tax. And that has been done in the city of Philly successfully. Then other appropriations, and then this has been voted to draft, the 5003, the top bill on early care from the Senate. And the one that our group is most thinking of, concerned with, or one of our top bills, and yours also, the infants and toddlers. It has been drafted and it has been moved, returned to the Children's Committee. It's been drafted. So a rush through this, and I apologize, but my point, when we go there, when people show up and pay attention en masse, we make a difference. So we are tracking the bills. We are training people. I know this was rushed, and I do hope that if anybody has any questions, please reach out to me, because together with this coalition of folks that you're working with, we represent 125,000 students and have over 400 organizations under our footprint. So it's a tough financial crunch right now. There's a lot of uncertainty and fear, and action is the thing that will help level us and balance us as we move forward through this really challenging time. So I thank you for having me here today.
Thank you, Kathleen. That's a perfect place to end, and it's a perfect transition into our next segment. So appreciative of you. The links to both the English and Spanish version of that presentation are in the chat, and really grateful to you. Thanks so much, Kathleen. Meryl, I'm going to transition you to talk about public hearings this week, which comes directly after exactly what Kathleen was talking about. Perfect timing.
So we have 3 public hearings coming up this week. There's one on the child tax credit on Wednesday, one on the Medicaid for medically necessary diapers for young children. That's on Thursday. And then, of course, the big one, which is Senate Bill 1369, which is a bill on transforming the childcare system. Next week, there'll be another one on the Speaker's childcare bill so that's Tuesday. And so for those of you who can think about writing some testimony, we're doing a workshop this afternoon at 1:30. Let me just try to see. I'm going to put a link in the chat. And if you click there, it's the top thing. So if you'd like a quick review on how to write testimony and some talking points for the various bills, that's this afternoon. And then we will have on Friday afternoon a briefing with Representative Farrar about the Speaker's bill, which will have a hearing next Tuesday. So lots going on. Also, just wanted to say that there's been some news out of Washington. The most recent cuts to the federal workforce took out 20% of the Head Start staff and about 25% of the Administration for Children and Families that deals with all things care for kids, Child Care Development Block Grant. We are waiting to see what is happening with the budget for this current year, because Congress is still operating on a continuing resolution. We don't know how bad the cuts are going to be, but they've got until March 14th to either pass another continuing resolution, pass a real budget, or shut down the government. Those are sort of the 3 options. So far, both the House and the Senate have big cuts to the social safety net of Medicaid. Medicaid is the primary one that they're looking at cutting, but also SNAP and WIC benefits. So once we've got a better sense of where things are going there, we'll let you know. But this is a good time to reach out to your members of Congress to urge them to fight the good fight to prevent those cuts from going through. Our delegation is all, firmly against those cuts, but it never hurts for them to hear from their constituents. Okay.
Okay, so my last announcement, a few things that I shared in the chat. There's a bill tracker that our partners at the CT Project Action Fund have put together on a number of early childhood bills. And if something's missing, let them know. And I'm sure they'll add it to it, but it's pretty comprehensive as far as I can tell. I also shared out information and sign up if you want to either show up in solidarity or sign up to testify on the workforce childcare bill. That information on that bill is in the chat, and the information on how to sign up is there as well. A reminder to everyone here that if you want updates from the Early Childhood Alliance or Childcare for CT, that you can go to both of those websites and sign up for email alerts so that you get all of the updates on the workshops that Merrill is running, on the public hearings that we think are most relevant, most valuable for you to spend your time on. We're trying to get to a place where we can offer to you those hearings which will have the highest impact and give you the opportunities to testify on the things that are the most important. So just wanted to point all of those out in the chat. And I think that's it for today. Merrill, anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Sorry for the technical difficulties at the beginning of this call. And Ava, did you have anything? No, you're good. All right. And thank you for jumping in for translation today. Much appreciated. Is the weekly testimony sign up general session or only on, I don't know what that question means. Do you know what that means, Merrill?
So yeah, we're trying to do a workshop each week to go over talking points on each of the bills that are being heard that week. Got it.
Okay, so and so anyone can sign up, or only Alliance members can sign up?
Anyone can sign up.
Anyone can sign up to hear about the bills of the week. I would say also, again, sign up for email alerts, but also check the social media of both Childcare for CT and the Early Childhood Alliance. They're very easy to find. It's at Childcare for CT, and I think at CTECA. I always get that one messed up because it changed recently, but it's not hard to find. I'm sure Vanessa will stick it in the chat for us soon. So okay, that is great. Thanks, everyone. It's a busy week. Keep your eyes on your inboxes, and also we'll try to share things out through the ECE listserv for anybody. It's Vanessa. I need the social media for keep your eyes on your inboxes, ECE listserv, but also try to remember to follow those groups. So it's at Connecticut Early Childhood Alliance. Great. Thank you so much. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day.